My judgment is that Mr. Trump is doing this just simply paving the way for Mr. Putin to for negotiation table. Yeah, he just making an invitation, some kind of invitation to this because Mr. Trump wants to press Mr. Putin and Mr. Zelensky to sit down together and to negotiate. Mr. Trump wants to be a peacemaker, just moderator of negotiations,
Mm.
while just Mr. Putin sees it differently. He wants to negotiate with Trump without Zelensky and claiming permanently that Zelensky is not eligible to negotiate.
Now, in Moscow, President Putin's been handing out Hero of Russia awards to servicemen at the Kremlin. The full scale invasion of Ukraine, it was, well, supposed to be over in just 3 days. After 3 years, well, how much further are we to a peace deal in Russia? They are celebrating that 3 years. Vasily Nebenzia is the Russian ambassador to the UN, and speaking in New York, he said there's one clear reason why a deal may be possible.
The Republican administration, led by President Trump, finally saw the real face of the expired Ukrainian president and realized that he is not at all interested in having peace in this country because he's clinging to power with everything that he has, is fearful of democratic elections where he has no chance of winning. He's not interested in anything else, and he's ready to sacrifice the entire people of Ukraine and its natural resource in order to hold on to his power.
And we can talk now to Mikhail Kasyanov, who's the former Prime Minister of Russia and served under Vladimir Putin in his first term. Welcome to you, Mikhail.
Hello, happy to be back to the
You're,
program. Thank
you're very welcome back to the show. It is then the third anniversary of the invasion of Ukraine, and we read that Vladimir Putin is, well, about to declare victory. Do you think he has reason to celebrate?
Mr. Putin needs to celebrate everything. Just he needs just to create positive news, and he making this out of everything. Just a Riyadh meeting recently just gave him an opportunity to do this. He was pulled out of isolation and just promise or expectation of the transaction of the deal for him. Just he believes it's possible, and in fact, the business community in Russia just also believe that there is no reason to, for instance, for ruble to appreciate, but it is appreciated very much just during just few days. That's what people just simply just drive by emotions. But I
Mm.
think it is absolutely unfair and a useless undertaking by business community and authorities.
Okay, you think maybe the business leaders pushing up the value of the ruble and the Russian equity markets, they're getting carried away. But when you see the way that Vladimir Putin has been invited in a way back into the fold by Donald Trump, that is reason to celebrate. Not something you would have expected just a few weeks ago.
Yes, exactly. That's what Mr. Trump undertakes. My judgment is that Mr. Trump is doing this just simply paving the way for Mr. Putin to for negotiation table. Yeah, he just making an invitation, some kind of invitation to this because Mr. Trump wants to press Mr. Putin and Mr. Zelensky to sit down together and to negotiate. Mr. Trump wants to be a peacemaker, just moderator of negotiations,
Mm.
while just Mr. Putin sees it differently. He wants to negotiate with Trump without Zelensky and claiming permanently that Zelensky is not eligible to negotiate at other things. Yeah.
Right. We're seeing later on the president of France meeting with Donald Trump, and later on the British Prime Minister is going to be there too. They have a plan to put British and French forces and maybe others on the ground in Ukraine to provide reassurance as and when a ceasefire is agreed. If there is such a force, it's been called a reassurance force in Ukraine. If it is backed up by America in some form, would that be the end of Putin's ambition to control Ukraine?
I think first it's absolutely premature. There is no reason to expect that ceasefire agreement would be achieved just in the upcoming month. Just and one of the part of such potential ceasefire agreement could be, of course, just peacekeepers just on the ground, boots on the ground. And Putin already said many times, just the NATO boots on the ground is not acceptable at all. That's why he already said that there should not be such a concession. What ceasefire agreement could be without just control of the ceasefire. That's why I'm saying that Mr. Putin doesn't give any signal of his readiness to negotiate. He wants just his terms of, I would say, settlement of his Ukrainian crisis. His term of this de facto Ukrainian capitulation would be accepted by Ukraine, and he expects Mr. Trump will press Zelensky to accept this.
Right.
That is the position of Putin at the moment.
Right. Now, as it is, we've got a new German leader. We've got the French and British leaders in Washington or heading to Washington later on this week. What is it you think those European leaders should be saying to Donald Trump? What would you like to hear from them?
Well, first of all, we all need, the whole world, need to reconfirmation, reinauguration that transatlantic solidarity exists. Transatlantic unity exists. That's the issue number one. That Mr. Putin wanted to destroy, and it seemed to be out of, as Mr. Trump's couple of statements it seems to be that Mr. Putin achieved this victory. But that's what the issue number one. And secondly, they should say jointly, not only three, but G7, the whole G7 should say, we will believe that Ukrainians should defend its sovereignty and territorial integrity.
Yes.
But it should not necessarily be tomorrow. I mean territorial integrity. But that is the goal, and Putin should be defeated. We cannot accept Mr. Putin will be a winner of this global strike, a global fight. Otherwise, just the whole world order should be considered just destroyed, and there will be polar world. What Mr. Putin dreams about that. Yeah, that is. I don't think that's acceptable. I don't think just American establishment. I don't think European leaders would accept such a development done by Mr. Putin and to negotiate with them a new architecture of European security. That's what Mr. Putin is dreaming about.
Right. I mean, you would like to see a united front. You'd like to see unity between the NATO and transatlantic allies, but it takes two to tango. That's an old British expression. And if Donald Trump is not going to point the same way as his friends in Europe and NATO partners, what should those NATO partners say to Donald Trump? Should they be ready to back Ukraine, to put money and munitions into Ukraine and sustain Ukraine, whether or not America is willing to do so?
I don't believe that such development could happen. Because I'm sure President Macron and Prime Minister Kramer, they will definitely just explain to Mr. Trump the necessity to consolidate. It means they understand that Mr. Trump is about money, about transaction. That's why just his permanent claim that European allies of NATO doesn't fund appropriately just spend for defense. And in fact, they should give just a strong promise. And to a certain extent, Mr. Trump that is fair requirement. Before it was 2%, now just it's necessary to have higher. And I think just the Mr. Trump's demand so that Europeans will spend 5% of GDP for the defense, that's absolutely fair. That was the level during the Cold War. Now, just we're already on the stage of Cold War. That definitely European countries should come back to this position. I think that is issue number one. And secondly, if Mr. Trump doesn't want to increase his support, he, by the way, just didn't stop the current support, I mean, supply of military equipment to Ukraine in accordance with the decision made by previous administration. There are no new decisions, but there is no stoppage of this. And that's what, if he doesn't want to increase, at least Europeans can promise just and consolidate their efforts, funding efforts, and to buy this equipment from the United States, because European doesn't produce a lot of ammunition and equipment just to support Ukraine. I think that is clear. That's already just the system and model which should exist just in up nearest. It's already clear for me.
All right, I'd love to carry on the conversation, but time is pressing. Hopefully we can talk again before long. Mikhail Kasyanov, former Prime Minister of Russia, thank you.